Hello, folks. There's a huge number of people on the call. That's absolutely awesome. So that's great. And Christian, thank you for turning on your camera, and you too, Jeff. Appreciate it. It means I can see your smiling faces. So
Yeah.
well done, boys. That's great. G'day, Nico. And Bondi, turned on your camera, mate.
Hey,
So
yeah,
and that way we can see you.
it's not worth
That's
looking
good.
at, mate. Trust me.
What's that? Sorry?
It's not much to look at. Trust me.
Oh, come on. You're a handsome
Um,
looking dude. I'm sure of it.
yeah. I'm onto it.
Hey, Ben Johnson, thank you for turning on your camera, mate. It's really good when people turn their cameras on because I
There
don't
you
know
go.
if you guys have ever presented to a group, but if you can't see people's faces, you feel really sort of alienated. It's a bit weird, to be honest. But so please do turn on your cameras, guys. Mohammed, please do turn it on. Thanks for turning yours on, Brooke. Well done, Hayden Taylor. Great work, mate. That's awesome. That's great. We've got a huge number of people on the call, so that's really great. It's good to see. As people sort of wander in, we'll just give them another minute or so that they can come on board. And Ryan's letting people in. Um, the idea of today is for it to be a really value packed session. It's not we don't go into a massive amount of detail, but what we do is we give you some really clever and proven tips about how to improve the way that you manage things in your business. So we've got still a few more people showing up, so we will get underway fairly shortly. Um, but it's great that you've made the time to be on the call. So that even investing 1 hour today, I'm pretty sure that most people on the call will, as a result of investing 1 hour of their time today, will probably save themselves at least 5 weeks every year. So this should be a really value rich session for everybody, and that's really what we want it to be. All right, so look, we'll get underway. I'll basically step through what the genesis of this was. And so in my work at Procalc, I speak to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of builders. And the common theme, and I experienced this when I was building, is that builders just get absolutely smashed for time. And so when we start talking about the ways that builders suffer with time and how they manage their time, so you talk to builders, and they're doing things like, quoting and doing paperwork on neat weeknights and weekends. And so the result is that you spend your day on site meeting with clients, doing whatever you need to do, and then at night you're find yourself doing paperwork. So you're burning the candle at both ends. And I'm yet to meet a builder who said, "Oh yeah, I got into building so that I could do more quoting at night, or I could waste weekends." It just doesn't happen. It's not the way you want things to be, and it doesn't have to be. So we're going to show you how to address that. Um, the other part of it too is that it actually robs you of family time. So I remember when I first started building, I had, at the time, my kids were very young, and so you'd basically get the meals, get the dinner time all sorted out. You'd bath the kids, you get them off to bed, and then you'd be into the office to start quoting, or to start doing paperwork or processing invoices or whatever it is. So the result was that you finished up losing that family time that was so important for you if you've got young kids, or with your partner, and also doing the things that are important for you as an individual. Because if you don't keep the gas tank full for you, with whether you're a fan of golf, or whether you like going to the footy, or you like going to the beach or surfing or whatever, it's really important that you do have that balance. Otherwise, you finish up sort of almost resenting the amount of time that you're putting into your business. Um, Another thing that builders talk about is also having less profitable businesses, despite the fact that they're doing more than 45 hours a week. So there's this tension where, in a lot of builders' minds, where there's a belief that the only way they can make good coin is to work harder. And that's just not true. So we're going to show you how you can step around that and actually shift the game so that you're not of a mindset where where you think to yourself, I've got to work my backside off so that we can actually get some good returns, because there is an easier way to do that. The other one that we've got here, and this is a shocker for me. I used to always do this. I'd wake up in the middle of the night. I'd think to myself, oh, did the apprentice lock the back gate because the client got really upset about that last time? And did we do that? And have we done that? Just quickly on that, if you're one of those people that wakes up in the middle of the night, there's one really easy solution. Get a notepad and a pencil or a pen, put it next to your bedside, and you wake up and you have a thought in the middle of the night, write it down. Even if it's in the dark, your writing will be messy, but you should be able to read it in the morning. But get it out of your head onto the notepad, and that way you can go back to sleep and you've got to worry about stuff. Next one is, when you get, as a builder, it's very easy to be dragged in 101 different directions at once, or 10 directions at once. Whether you're talking about relating to clients, whether you're talking about quoting jobs, whether you're talking about managing subbies, whatever, you are always being dragged in different directions. So Owen's going to talk about a tool that they've got that will actually help you focus your efforts and your energies on the things that really matter and the things that you like doing. Okay, because let's face it, none of us started a business to do more of the things that we don't like doing. So that's it. So there's going to be we're going to be addressing that thing as well. So just quickly, I'll just step through who's on the call. So we've got Owen, who I've just talked about briefly. He's from the Professional Builder. Over the years, I believe that Owen has probably coached thousands of builders about ways that you can that they can better manage more successful building businesses. So at the moment, I know that Owen's on the road. He's somewhere I think you're in Dallas, Texas. Owen, are you on the call? Can you just call out, and that way you'll come to the top of the feed on the video?
Yeah, g'day. Great to be here. That's right. We're in Dallas, Texas at the moment for a roadshow with our members, and we're then taking that same roadshow around Australia and New Zealand over September, October. So yeah, a lot of fun at the moment. We went to AT&T Stadium yesterday for the Cowboys practice facility. Good fun.
Hey, where's your Stetson?
Oh, mate, we're down in Austin on Thursdays. So I'll be picking up cowboy boots, Stetson, go full tourist over the weekend. Don't you worry.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm looking forward to seeing the full kit, mate. That's good.
Yeah.
All right. And next on the call, we've got Emily from the Arrow Agency. So basically, the Arrow Agency is a marketing agency that focuses purely on marketing for builders. So Emily's got best practice in the ways that builders can market to potential clients. And look, if you're like a lot of builders, you probably have tried a few different marketing tools and different marketing techniques. But when you're doing it for yourself, I think one of the things that does happen is that you're trying stuff out. You're sort of trying to work out how to do it and how to do it effectively. Whereas Emily's in the situation where she's worked with hundreds and hundreds of builders to actually deliver value and make sure that they get conversion there. So Emily, can you just give us a wave there and call out just to make sure you're on the call?
Absolutely. I'm here waiting, ready to go. Very excited to be here.
Yeah, fantastic. That's awesome. Thank you. And Hannah James from Asset Builders. So Asset Builders is basically a procurement agency or a procurement company that helps builders source materials more effectively and more time efficiently, and also more cost efficiently. So Hannah, are you there somewhere?
Hi, Richard. Yeah, thanks so much for having me on.
Fantastic. That's great to have you all on, guys. It's really good. So look, really the benefit of today is that everybody who's presenting, they are all specialists and focusing purely on the way that builders do things. Just myself, just a quick introduction. So I'm formerly a builder from ProCalc. I've interviewed over 1,000 builders about the way that they engage with clients. And what we've really found is that builders who have an inefficient way of engaging with clients can burn not hours, not days, not weeks, but months on really dud clients that just never amount to anything, which is horrible. So we're gonna talk through some of the ways that you can avoid that and save some time doing that. So that's basically the presenters. Now, first cab off the rank is going to be Owen, and he's going to be stepping you through some tips here. So, Owen, I'll hand over to you, mate. Are you can see that all okay?
Yeah.
Can you? Awesome.
Yep, perfect. Woohoo, great to be here, guys. Type into the chat box. Big ups for Richard for getting us all together. So dropping a thumbs up or something. Thanks, Richard, for bringing us all together, helping us buy back our time. I'll wait until the chat box lights up for you. So we may be here sometime, or you guys can all do it quickly. There we go. Thank you, Christian. Appreciate you. There we go. 2 of us. Come on, we can get 3 at least. We will wait here all evening, and if we have to. Yo, happy days. All right, there we go. Good. So guys, what I want to start with is working out a method that we can identify. There we go. It's lighting up now. Perfect. I want to walk us through a method that we can use to identify exactly what tasks we should be delegating out, eliminating, or dumping from our plate. So has everybody got a calculator on their phone handy and a blank piece of paper? Can I get a thumbs up? Perfect. All right. So very simple exercise here. It's called the professional builder's rate. And it helps to identify your hourly rate as a business owner. In the example that's on the left-hand side, I'll walk you through that, and you can follow along doing your math on a blank piece of paper and your calculator. Ultimately, what we want to work out is the total amount that you took home in the last 12 months. So we normally want to add your salary and your company profits. So in the example that's on the screen, that's 70,000 plus 70,000, that gets us 140,000. Your example might look slightly different. Hopefully you're making something, but we ultimately want to identify the figure that you took home in the last 12 months. Make sense, everybody? Can I get a thumbs up or a nod? I can see Bondi nodding. He's like, yeah, mate, I'm all over this edition. Perfect. Cool. What we now want to do is we want to take that number and we want to divide it by the number of weeks that you worked out of the last 52. So there are 52 weeks in the year. Let's assume we took Christmas and New Year off for 2. We're down to 50. We also took 2 weeks off in the middle of the year for midwinter Christmas, and we're now down to 48. Whatever you worked out of the last 52, we divide your number by that. The number on screen, the example, they only took 2 weeks off. So we're dividing it by 50, and we end up with 2,800. We now divide that number by the average number of hours that you work per week. Again, the example on screen is 60. We've now calculated a professional builder's rate of $47 an hour. Now, this can be a really sobering experience if you might be paying your carpenter, your foreman, heck, sometimes even your apprentice, a competitive rate to what you're achieving in your business, yet you're the one taking the risk, the liability, working the nights, the weekends, and doing all the other work around the business. But change starts with the truth. And what we're using this exercise to do is to not kind of beat yourself up, but actually to identify the tasks that we're now going to be able to delegate, automate, eliminate, and get rid of. Because if we're really strict, we're now going to take all the tasks that fall below that hourly rate, and that's going to form time trap number 2. We go to the next slide, please, Richard.
Yep.
Which is the most important list in your business, your stop doing list. Okay, so just to be really clear and just to recap something quickly, every task that we might be able to find somebody to do for us that is below your hourly rate or your professional builder's rate or close to it, these are tasks that we want to stop doing, delegate, dump, eliminate. And these are tasks that would fall onto our stop doing list. Am I making sense to everyone? Going too fast, going too slow? Can I get a thumbs up or a shaka? No. Bondi's like, nah, I don't get it. Or he's like, oh, he's like, yes, I do get it. Perfect. Okay, great. Nice. Cool. So this is just a framework to look at all the things that you're doing and to work out what you should stop doing. Okay? And we should stop doing the tasks that are below that hourly rate. Another framework to look at this through is a very easy one called a fun skills matrix, which is on screen at the moment. And ultimately, we want to list out all the tasks that you do in a typical week, typical month, typical fortnight, and we want to place them somewhere on this matrix. Are they high skill and high fun tasks? Things like that only you could do potentially, negotiating with suppliers, selling contracts, recruitment, hiring, setting the vision. Or are they high skill but low fun tasks, like typically high skill or high stakes? So this might be your tax. You're going to outsource that to your accountant. This might be things like estimating. You're going to outsource that to ProCalc. This might be things like, that you don't enjoy doing, but they're high skill, they're high stakes. So these are tasks that we want to normally delegate. Low skill, low fun are normally tasks that you want to absolutely stop doing and should also be added to your stop doing list alongside everything that's below your hourly rate. And then if you've got time and you bought back some time and you want to have some high fun, but do some low skill stuff, then you got some time hopefully bought back and you can put it back in. Craig asks, annual salary plus gross business profit divided by 48 weeks divided by 50 hours hourly rate. Pretty close. The only difference is it's not gross business profit, it's net business profit. So total take home. So it's annual salary that you paid yourself plus what you drew out as a dividend. Okay. So it might be 150 plus 150. We're at 300. We divide it by however many weeks you took off, you worked, and we divide it by however many hours you work on a typical week. It's a bit of napkin math, but ultimately it's going to get you a ballpark figure of what your time is actually worth to you. And if you don't like what you see, then keep watching everybody else's tips, because the only way you can improve it is to either make more money or buy back your time. Basically, have a better business. All right, should we, in the interest of speed, should we move through to the next one? Nice. So once we've identified all the things that we want to dump, delegate, outsource, eliminate that are below your hourly rate, these should be tasks that repeat and recur. This is ultimately the job description of the next person that you hire. You've 80-20 got to a job description of the next person that you should be recruiting, because these are tasks that are below your hourly rate. And you don't get the right to grow, you earn the right to grow by delegating so that you can elevate. So we need to delegate to elevate. And the best way to do that, if cash is tight or you're a little bit uncomfortable with hiring some local domestic talent, we can go offshore. We've got a whole playbook and training that our members use to recruit, train, onboard, and manage offshore talent. If you want to do it yourself without our help, that's absolutely fine. I would go to onlinejobs.ph. Excellent site, very easy to use, phenomenal place to start getting some recruitment and some help from overseas. Another little great thing to do here is to take all the tasks that you're going to hand to this person or this position, put them into a Google Calendar, and in the calendar time block, you're going to put a process or a how-to, so that when you hire the person, you can just log them straight into the calendar and they can follow along each hour, knowing exactly what they need to do, task by task, day by day. In the interest of time, I'm going to hand it over for our next 9 tips. But thank you guys, been a pleasure to be here. And thank you, Richard, for bringing us all together. If you have any questions, type in the chat box. I'll be around for the rest of the workshop.
Yeah, good on you, Aaron. That's awesome, mate. And guys, look, please do add your questions to the chat box. It's really good. I saw Craig Preston threw in a comment or a question there. The idea of the chat is that you can just throw them in there, and we will actually work through that as we go. Ben actually sent through a question before the webinar, and we'll also talk about that. But please do throw your questions and comments in the chat as we go, because we're going to cover all that.
Just joined.
All right. So
that's what we call after.
Good on you, Ben. That's great, mate. So what I'll do, you're on that. All good. Okay. So over to not Helena, it's Emily.
Yes, it is.
Emily's. So Emily, tell us about this dude on screen. Who's that?
Absolutely. Look, I did have a little bit of fun with AI making my images just to break things up. So I hope everyone enjoys that. But so my sort of 3 time traps that I'm going to be talking about today are obviously more in the sphere of marketing and sales. So as Richard mentioned, I'm one of the co-founders of an agency that only deal with builders. So we have a lot of builders on our books all across Australia and some in New Zealand as well. So we have kind of a really nice bird's eye view of what's working and what's not working for builders in this space. So the first thing I wanted to speak to was pre-qualifying leads. So the horrible reality of being a builder, being in the construction space, is that about 70% of the inquiry that you get, they're just not ready to put pen to paper. So, you know, if you're going to get 10 phone calls, maybe 7 of those are, you could say, a waste of time right now. So a lot of the work that we do with builders is not necessarily getting them much more volume of inquiry, but it's about making sure they're getting the right kind of inquiry and about making sure that there's pre-qualification in place. So most people, when they think about pre-qualifying, they think about that first phone call. A lot of builders that we work with already have a bit of a script. So when they take that first phone call, they've got a list of questions that they go through. And based on those questions, they might then go and do an on-site meeting. The issue with that is it's quite a manual process. So I'd really encourage everybody to zoom out. And when you think about pre-qualification, you've got to think about that it actually starts not when you talk to them, but before that in your marketing and your advertising. So if you think about the message you're putting out there, maybe you're running Facebook ads, maybe we can think about it in terms of your social media posts or your website copy. What message are you actually putting out there? Do you have that ideal person in your mind? If you're running an ad, for example, that says, you know, 2 spots left, 2 build spots left for 2025, you can start in 4 to 6 weeks. That is saying to people in the market, okay, you know, this is a quick thing. This is for people who are ready to go. If you're putting messages out there that are a lot softer, maybe they're saying, you know, we work with all kinds of people and we do design and build packages, then that's a very different message. So my first point on this, I suppose, is to make sure that that pre-qualification that you're doing starts not when you talk to them, but before that in all of your marketing messaging. And then the second part of this, obviously, is once they get in touch. So generally speaking, we see that a lot of the builder inquiry, it's either coming through on a phone call or it's coming through on a form, on a website or a landing page, something like that, particularly if you're a builder that's already running ads. So a big tip I have in this space is that if you do have a form on your website or landing page, and that's how you're getting inquiry through, make sure that on there you've got some pre-qualifying questions. A big one is probably something like budget, or it might be something like whether or not you have plans ready. And depending on the answers to those questions, you can direct them to a different thank you page. So the reason I recommend doing that is because what you can actually do if you are running advertising is you can configure your campaign, and this is something your agency can do for you if you're working with an agency. You can tell the campaigns in Google and Meta, only people who reach thank you page A are the right kind of lead. Let's optimize for that. Let's find more of those people. All the people that are filling out a budget that's too low, or they're not in the right area, whatever it may be, they're going to a different thank you page. That is not a lead. I don't want more of those people. So really bringing in any kind of automation that you can. There's so much you can do with technology now that the pre-qualification, there's no excuse. It's 2025, so we all need to make use of tech whenever we can. So that's my first thought on pre-qualification. And thank you so much, Richard. Be a glamorous assistant there. Before I even said anything, has already gone to the next slide. So the next point I wanted to talk a bit about was social media. So this is something which is a massive headache, I think, really for all business owners, but particularly with the builders that I speak to. Everyone seems to hate Facebook, they hate Instagram. I'm not on it. Why do I need to do it? And I completely empathize and understand. Unfortunately, being a business owner in 2025 does mean that you have to have a social media presence. So what I would really encourage is to make use of AI and automation for this. So first and foremost, most of the people on this call are probably already utilizing something like ChatGPT to write perhaps copy for your social media posts. But I'd really encourage you to utilize it as an employee. So it can be ideating the content for you. It can be coming up with the ideas for you for what to post. It can actually be creating those posts for you, and it can be scheduling it. putting the time aside to build out these automations and to use custom GPTs is going to save you so much time. And once you get to the point where you can perhaps hand over something like social media to a VA, something Owen touched on when he was talking, then that's fantastic. But if that's something that is not on the cards for you right now with budget or with where you're at, then definitely look to include things like custom GPTs, because they're going to enable you to push out content a lot more consistently. I think one of the big sort of roadblocks for people, particularly with social media, because we're all precious about our own businesses and we all want to, have a good presence online. I think that I would encourage people to think about it in terms of done is better than perfect. So yes, maybe it's just a phone shot you took of a finished project that you've put up, and maybe you're only posting once a week. That's okay right now, as long as you're getting, content out there. When you think about it in terms of the customer journey, they might see you first on an ad or word of mouth. They're probably going to check you out online. They're probably going to check out your social media. So just make sure there's something there that feels professional and is showcasing what you can do. And like with anything in business, it will get better and better over time. And I'll move on to my third and final point, if I may, Richard, which is around the sales process. So we're a marketing agency, as I mentioned before, but we also deal a lot in the sales automation space. So ultimately, it's fantastic to get a lot of inquiry through the door. Pre-qualified inquiry is even better. But then you've actually got to convert them into, a signed contract. And that is a massive undertaking, as everyone on this call would understand. So what we see is that if you can reach out to inquiries in the first 5 minutes, your conversion rate is going to be so much higher. That's just a fact in the industry. It's what we see across our portfolio of builders. But unfortunately, if you're on site or you're in a meeting, you're with clients, you're on the phone all day, you potentially don't have the opportunity to reach out to these people who inquire. So if you're not already using some kind of CRM, and for those on the call who aren't familiar with that, that's just a customer relationship management system. So what it is, a piece of software. There's lots of different kinds out there. And that's going to help you to automate things like if someone fills out a website form, they can then get a text and an email sent to that person straight away to say, thank you so much. Such and such will be in touch in the next, maybe 2 business days or whatever time frame you want to give it. And you can even say things like, to book in a day and a time to have that initial call, please click this link. I always encourage people, if you can have in the sales process an opportunity for inquiries to book in a time and a day that they're comfortable for you to call, you're going to get a much higher pickup rate. So for most of our builders, they have a form on their website. If someone fills that out, they then get directed to a calendar. And that's where they can choose the time and day. And what we find is it's just much smoother to, from the leads perspective, they find it's a very professional interaction. And from your side of things, it's much easier to kind of keep organized and keep on top of leads. And the last thing I wanted to touch on in this space was just around nurture sequences. So obviously, as I mentioned before, a lot of the inquiry that comes in, they're potentially not ready to go straight away. And it might be that you've even phoned them a couple of times and you've not had anything back. We, all of us as business owners don't have the time and potentially the capacity to be following them up every day. And that's where your CRM and your automated nurture sequences are really going to be your savior. So when I'm talking about a nurture sequence, I'm talking about things like a flow of email and text messages that are keeping that inquiry engaged and giving them opportunities to book in a call with you, so that when they do come back from their overseas holiday, or maybe they've just had a baby, or whatever the reason is that they haven't picked up the phone, you've still been communicating with them. It's been automated, so it's not taking up your time. And they're potentially going to have your building company in their head when they are ready to go. So that's everything from me. I've noticed there's been a couple of comments in the chat. Richard, do you want me to talk about that now or at the end?
Yeah, look, that's great. And look, just while you're just digesting some of those comments in the chat, I'll just make a comment to the people on the call. When as a builder, I know when I first started using a CRM in my business, it was the payoff in using a CRM was massive. Okay, it was probably the single most powerful thing that we ever did in my business. And so when Emily talks about a CRM or a customer relationship management system, they are incredibly powerful. And I think the key thing is if some of the stuff that Emily's talked about, and by the way, her name says Helena on her thing, but her name is actually Emily. We're just trying to confuse people. But the important thing to remember is that even if she's talked about some things that aren't that might be a little beyond your current understanding of technology, is it okay if the guys reach out to you, Emily, just to ask a few questions, because it's important that we build that bridge between where people are and where your best practice knowledge is, because the stuff that you're talking about is super powerful. So you just want to maybe answer these quick questions here that we've got on the chat board?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to comment with my email address as well, just in case anybody did want to reach out of anything. I know Craig has popped in there about custom GPT. So in ChatGPT, different people have built out what are called custom GPTs. And it's basically a little piece of software that you use for a specific purpose. So if you want to shoot me an email, I can give you the ones that I would recommend for social media, and you can have a play with them. But yes, if you want to have a little YouTube of custom GPTs as well, they're a lot of fun. And then there's just a question around lead magnets, which is a great question. I think lead magnets have their place. I think what I've seen in practice is that they tend to help to build a database. Generally speaking, you're gathering people who are perhaps not a hot lead, they're maybe not ready to go. But if your goal is to have a full pipeline and a full database of potentials for the future, it's a great tool. But if you're looking for leads that are hot and ready to go, it's maybe not the right strategy, depending on what you're looking for.
Yep. So it's a slow cook.
Absolutely.
It's farming rather than hunting.
That's a great one. I'm going to use that, Richard.
Fantastic. All right, that's great. So thanks for that, Emily. That's really awesome. So now we're going to bring in Hannah, who's going to talk about the next set of tips. So over to you, Hannah. There's so many on the call, I've lost you. So you might just.
I'm here. Hi, everybody.
There you are.
My name is Hannah James. I'm the General Manager of Asset Builders. We're a buying group specifically designed for that small to medium residential builder. Look, I'll keep this one short and sweet because Owen and Emily have both covered this, but I guess something that we see is builders wearing too many hats, not delegating and trying to do everything yourself. So just because you can do it doesn't mean that you should. We work with about 600 builders down the eastern states, and we see them wearing estimator hat, scheduler, they're supervising sites, they're being the bookkeeper, project manager. What happens is their calendar fills up and they become the bottleneck in their own businesses. So while they're buried in that day-to-day, they're losing sight of that bigger picture. So that's sort of where a company like Asset or another buying group can come in handy. So we take care of everything when it comes to the supplier side. So we take care of those negotiations, those pricing reviews, those supplier relationships. If something goes wrong, we've got our builders' backs and we'll go in and work it out with the supplier. So I guess instead of our builders having to waste time on hours of negotiating, we take care of that and they get to focus on what actually will make their businesses grow. You don't need to be the one making every call, checking every invoices. That's not your highest value work. It's the fastest way to free up that time, as both Emily and Owen have said, is to start delegating like a business owner. So outsourcing the parts of your business that someone else can do better, faster, and more strategically. I'll move into the next point. I won't spend too much time here. But the next point is failing to benchmark your business. So for a lot of builders that we talk to, it sort of sounds a little bit like corporate jargon. And it's not something they teach you during your apprenticeship. And we've met builders who've got 30 years experience in the industry who've never heard the term. So what is competitive benchmarking? It's a two-step process. So first, compare your business to an industry leader. So not a mate, not your boss, not someone who's in the same boat, talking about someone that's absolutely crushing it. So a business that's 10 times the size of your business. The idea is to see how you really stack up on those key metrics. So your margin, your cost of sales, delivery times. Step 2 is to close the gap. So once you know what those gaps are, that's where you can really start working. And the good news is that you can 100% do it. And it's something that we help our members do every day when it comes to procurement. So I guess we also know that comparing yourself to someone better is really uncomfortable. It feels like criticism, but it does show you what you're missing out on. We've seen small businesses double their margins and outperform, 30-year veterans, not because they've got more experience, but because they've got the guts to benchmark their procurement and then act on it. Yeah. I guess the reason that benchmarking is so important is, imagine an iceberg, right? Above the waterline, it's what most builders are going to see. So that surface level stuff, margins are really tight. I don't feel like I'm growing. I'm working flat out and still not getting ahead. It's frustrating, but it's also a bit deceiving. Below that waterline is the real problem. So you've got no idea where you actually stack up on costs. You're overpaying for materials. You may have, insufficient procurement, false confidence in comparing yourself to another builder that might actually be struggling. And worst of all, you could be leaving tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table each year without even realizing it. So I guess in the conversations we have with builders, we talk about what happens when you fail to benchmark quite a bit. So you stay stuck at average. You waste your time trying to solve those surface level problems. You're working harder for less, and you start thinking, I'm doing okay. And that's the mindset that is a handbrake on your businesses, because being okay is not the same as being excellent, and being busy is not the same as being profitable. So if you're very serious about, scaling your business, take benchmarking seriously. Happy to also have a conversation. If you want to send us through some emails, we can talk to you about how we benchmark with our builders. In saying that, that's just going to lead me on into my last point. And this is getting multiple quotes or no quotes. So building on that benchmarking theme, lots of builders we talk to think that getting multiple quotes is the same as benchmarking, and it's not. So when it comes to procurement, most of the builders we speak with fall into two camps. So they either get multiple quotes and chase that cheapest price, or they stay loyal to the same supplier. The thing is that suppliers have a strategy too, right? So they've got 3 cards that can play. So they've got innovation. So launch a new product or a system that's going to improve the speed or quality or performance, and use that to win business. But really, what was the last innovative product that we've seen come out in the construction space? Maybe Dinsol. The next strategy that suppliers have is service, right? So I bet nobody here has ever heard a supplier say we're really, really cheap, but we give really crap service, right? It's always, we're not the cheapest, but we give good service. The issue with that is that there's no try before you buy, right? The last strategy that suppliers have is price. They come in really low to win the work, and then they'll slowly increase their price over time once they've got you locked in. So, and that's that third one, that start cheap, then creep, that's going to kill your margins quietly. Cool. All right, let's jump back to that supplier strategy, right? So getting multiple quotes. So it might feel like you're doing your due diligence, but really what you're doing is you're benchmarking yourself against yourself, right? It's like you're running a race, but you're the only runner. So you're going to come in first. You're also going to come in second, but you're still getting flogged by the best in the business. Getting multiple quotes might save you money, but those savings, they're crumbs compared to what's possible when you're benchmarking against industry leaders, right? So if you're getting those 3 quotes to pick the cheapest, you're playing a dangerous game, right? You can end up sacrificing product quality, that service reliability, and that supplier trust, all for a short-term savings that can cost you in the long run. We tell our builders, that's not strategy, that's gambling, right? And the flip side is that blind loyalty. So it's really easy to stay loyal to a supplier that you've known for years. And you don't want to be seen as, a time waster or a tire kicker. But loyalty, there are some issues that it does have its place. But what's really going to move that needle is size. So loyalty on its own isn't going to deliver better pricing or priority service. But leverage loyalty backed by volume is a smart strategy. And that's where I guess being part of a buying group can really, change the way that your business runs. So I guess, the takeaway here is, don't confuse quotes with getting multiple quotes with benchmarking. Don't confuse loyalty with leverage. And then, don't fall for that supplier strategy of start cheap, then creep. Because we work with builders, multiple builders, and pool their volume to then be able to benchmark against, builders that are 10 times the size of our builders.
Okay.
Cool. That's everything from me.
Hey, Hannah, I've just got a question that some
Sure.
people might be wondering. When you do have that pooled capability that you're talking about, obviously quality is one thing, but one thing that everybody would be keen to look at is what's in dollar terms, when you have that pooled demand, what are the sort of differences in pricing? And I appreciate it would change depending on what the product and service is, but what's the range of savings that builders would typically see when it is pooled?
It can be quite substantial.
Okay.
Where we've done some work with some builders over the last 6 to 8 months who are looking to save at around $60,000 a year on concrete. So just on concrete, right?
Okay.
So we've benchmarked our pricing against a builder that was doing a commercial project. So just speaking about concrete here, commercial project with a 12,000 cube pour. And we have then negotiated with our supplier for our builders who will do around that much to get that same pricing. Yes, it will be split across multiple locations, but it's no different to your Metrocon, Coral Homes, your project builders. Making sure that you can get benchmark yourself against those guys, those top 100 builders. Our main aim is to make sure that our builders are getting a price that on their own they could not get.
Yeah, but 60K is 60K.
Yes, and in one category. So we regularly go out and bring on board, new suppliers. We tender to suppliers to win the group's volume. So, yeah.
Awesome. No, that's good. Just a question here from Jeff King. Hannah, can you provide this service Australia-wide?
Hi, Jeff. Look, at the moment, we are just in Queensland, New South Wales, and Victoria. If you like, you can flick me an email and we can discuss if you're outside of those areas. I'll pop my email in the chat.
Awesome. Fantastic. Good on you, Hannah. That's great. Thank you for that. That sounds like a really helpful thing. Good on you.
Worries,
okay,
thanks.
So excellent. All right, so that's trap 9. Now we're going to move on to trap 10. For builders that we speak to, so basically, as I mentioned before, we speak at ProCalc, we speak with hundreds of builders every month. And what we do is we actually gather a lot of data about builders' pricing and the way that they go about engaging with clients. Now, one of the things that we've only just started putting this information into a report, but we've been gathering it for about 6 months, is actually the way that builders quote and where they have inefficiencies in that. And now what this slide is that we're basically talking about the amount of time that builders spend on quoting unsuccessful jobs. So 7% of the market they actually spend 1 to 4 weeks every year quoting jobs that they don't win. Okay, so they've got a very efficient process whereby they qualify the client, they really have it mapped out, and it's quite mature. The other end of the scale, you'll see that there are builders there that have got 40 or 50 weeks that they are wasting quoting. And some of you might look at that and go, well, hang on, how can one person waste that many weeks in a year? The reason for that is that because their quoting system, they're not pre-qualifying the client before they quote them. But as well as that, they also probably employ 1 or even 2 estimators. And so what they're doing is that they're actually taking the client inquiry and they're giving it straight to the estimator, who does a detailed estimate and then produces the quote for the client. And the client goes, oh, no, I can't afford that, and walks away. All right. So we've got both ends of the scale there. But as you can see, the vast majority of builders waste not weeks, but months on jobs they don't win. Okay. So what we've got here is there's a QR code on screen. This is basically a tool that you can use and we will circulate this after the session. This is basically a tool that you can use to put in some of your key numbers that you will already know. You'll already be able to work them out off the top of your head. Put them in there, and then it will come back and it will produce a report on the number of weeks that you're currently wasting, but it will also provide you with 10 tips that you can use to make your quoting more efficient. Okay. So given, if we say that 93% of the people on this call, hope it's not that high, but if it is 93% of people on this call are able to benefit from that, go through and just fill out that questionnaire. And what it will do, it will actually come back to you with a set of recommendations whereby you can go ahead and actually understand not only how many weeks you're wasting, and most builders, when they do this, they sort of go, oh, gee, that makes it very tangible how much I am wasting. It sort of puts it up front and center. But it also gives you instructions and a way forward for you to actually start dialing down that wastage. Okay, so there are some key things you need to do, but across the board there are about 10 ways that you can do that. So it will give you a report on how to do that. So that's Time Trap 10, and the key takeout there is really make sure that before you go anywhere near doing a detailed quote, that you've established that the client can afford what it's going to cost them. Now you can do that. You might have your own system to do that. ProCalc can do that for you. Whatever the system is that you use. But the main thing is that you never ever provide a detailed estimate to a client without knowing that they can afford the value of that estimate. All right, because it's a super powerful thing for you to do, to not have to spend weeks and weeks on every single inquiry that comes in. All right, so that's the Time Trap 10. Number 11 is when we talk to builders, they often will say that there are some real jarring moments when particularly if they're trying to win work from architects and designers. And so what can happen is that a builder will reach out to an architect and say, hey, we can do, we want to do some work with you, reach out to us and let us know. Often the upshot is that the architect will go, oh, okay, all right, no worries. And they don't necessarily know the builder that well. And they go, oh, they'll get a client who needs some costings, and they'll go ahead and they've already got a builder that they know that they can rely upon. The builder that they can rely upon provides a number. And then they go, oh, we probably should check this. Oh, who was that guy that called me the other day? Oh, yeah, that's him. Yeah, I'll get him to quote it as well. The result is that you as that second builder, you invest weeks or months going ahead creating numbers for them. I mean, all you're doing, you're just being used as a price checker. Okay, so what we want to do is we can flip that round. And so the way to do that is that there's a key gap in the architect's process, and that's when they actually go from concept design to ensuring that the client can afford it. And it's what they call feasibility. All right. In the marketplace, the only way that that's historically been done is by a QS or by a builder doing a full estimate. ProCalc now does that, but the point of the story is that if you approach an architect and say, hey, we can do a feasibility for you, that's addressing the exact pain point that they have. All right, that's the big gap in their whole process that they have not solved. So if you do that, what it means is that one, you're targeting their exact pain point, and you're immediately seeing as value. If you can do it in a fairly responsive time, you're going to be doing it faster than other builders anyway. So what that means is that you will eventually bubble to the top. So and a good example of this is Sam from Above Building. I don't know if Sam's on the call, but Sam is a ProCalc client, and what he did was he approached half a dozen architects, said, hey, look, if you need a feasibility done, we can turn one around for you in a couple of days. One of them said, oh, look, we've got about a dozen a month that we need to actually talk to you about. Can you do that? And he said, yeah, we can do that. He actually takes those, puts them through the system, and then as they're going through, he actually will see 2 or 3 that he likes the look of and says, hey, can you put us in for those ones, because they're really the sweet spot for us. And inevitably they win those jobs. So he's now got a relationship with that architect where he is the single go-to builder. And his business has just gone nuts. It's 2 or 3 times what it used to be. So engaging with architects in the right way that makes you the prize is a really, really powerful thing. So that's one option there that you've got when it comes to avoiding wasting time with architects' queries that really, if you don't manage it properly, it could just be a time burner. The next is time management, or sorry, not time management, core value management. So gone are the days when, and this used to happen particularly during COVID, where a builder would often say to me, oh yeah, look, if the client can't afford it, we just tell them to buzz off. All right. You can't do that. In fact, builders in Western Australia can probably do that at the moment because it's quite buoyant over there, but the rest of Australia, not really. And so what that means is that as a builder, you need to be a little bit more selective about the way you qualify or disqualify builders. So what we've found, and this probably goes to it parallels some of the information that Emily was talking about before, when she said that 70% of inquiries of a builder, they're not quite ready yet. What in our research, we've seen that it's basically sitting up around about 79%. Okay, so those D grade, B grade, and C grade inquiries. The A grade inquiries, these are actually the people that they arrive, they understand the process, they're informed, they've probably reached out to you before, maybe had a few conversations with you, probably had a few conversations with other builders and designers. But when they get the number back from you in that first feasibility or that first preliminary estimate, they go, yeah, no, we're expecting that. Right. So one out of five clients will say that. So they're in that A grade category, and they're clients that every builder wants. We love them. D grade clients, on the other hand, are the clients that go, oh, here's our job, and we want this and we want that, and and as a builder, you're sort of going, oh, this is all pretty airy fairy. I'm not sure about the client. Don't know if they can afford it. Don't know if I like them. You then talk with them about what they want, and you say to them, oh yeah, look, it's probably, this job, once we go through and we crunch the numbers for a prelim estimate, yeah, it's probably sitting around at 500K. And the client goes, oh, what? I was expecting 100. These clients that are a complete waste of time at this stage in their buying journey. But the important thing to remember is that with those people, like Emily was saying, they're the people that you want to put back into that lead nurturing process. They need education. But you don't want to deal with them now on a one-to-one basis, because they're just going to waste your time. So you want to get them out of your hair in a one-on-one scenario. You want to put them into your automatic nurturing system that it educates them about the process and brings them up to speed, because those D graders, eventually they will become Bs and Cs, and if you manage them properly, they'll become A graders. So it's a journey. It's that farming that we were talking about before. Now, the big opportunity here is the B and C grade. Okay, so we've already said that the A graders they're awesome. The D graders, push them back into the nurturing. You don't want to talk to them face to face right now. The Bs and Cs, they're actually clients who you establish that the job's worth, say, 500K, and they go, oh, we had 400. What do we do? It's that point whereby you're well positioned to say to them, well, look, the best thing to do here is for us to revisit your scope or revisit your timing or revisit whatever it is you need to do to revisit to actually drive the cost, the value of the job down. So really being able to talk to those clients and step them through. And look, one of the things that I often say is if you've got the plan set, you've gone ahead and you've done a ProCalc report or you've done a preliminary estimate, and you say to them, look, the job's worth 500, and they go, oh, we've only got 400. You then say to them, all right, well, let's grab a coffee and a red pen and sit down, and we'll go through and we'll strike out the things that you can live without. Now, the client that says yes to that is a B or C grade client. The client that says no to that is a D grade client. Get them out of your hair. So the Bs and Cs, their head is in the real world. Okay. They're the clients that if you can sit down with them and during that coffee, you're able to say to them, all right, well, let's no longer have that first floor extension. Let's do it all on the ground floor and do it down here. And that will get it back within your price range. What you're doing is you're actually not only showcasing your expertise, but you're shifting them across to an A grade client. Okay. So the huge value in this is that all of a sudden, you've no longer got 21% of A grade clients. You've now got 62% of A, B, or C grade clients that will become A grade clients. Okay, so what you're doing is you're tripling your prospect base. Now that's a massively powerful tool. So the key thing there is just make sure that you have a tool or a process in place that will enable you to value manage clients when they have unrealistic expectations. I think one of the, and just on that subject, I think one of the questions, Ben, I think you sent through a question before the session, and it was really about how to manage those inquiries where the client does arrive with an unrealistic expectation. And the truth is that no builder can control costs unless they slice their own margins, and none of you should do that. You should never slice your margins. Really what needs to happen is that it needs to be the client that adjusts their expectations, and as an educated builder, which you're an expert in comparison to the client who 90% of the time they're very much uninformed. If you can sit down with them side by side in a red pen, you can actually step them through and show them how they can actually dial back their pricing. Obviously with ProCalc, you can do that. You can do it online with them there and then on a laptop and show them how it changes the pricing. But the key thing is that those B and C grade clients, we're in a climate now where we can no longer discard them, that you actually need to take them seriously and find a way to migrate them across. All right. So look, that's basically the 12th time trap there. I'll just basically recap. We're almost done. So really the key things there: stop doing lists, get rid of those low skill, low fun tasks. And I actually quite like this one because I think one of the things that I always look for the most fun jobs in the business, and I make sure that I get to do them. So it's a little bit, when you're the boss, make sure you do the fun stuff. You've got to do that. The other thing is automating your socials and your sales process. This is massively powerful. So do reach out to Emily and have a bit of a chat to her about that. Buying in a competitive tool, a competitive pool, is really going to make a big difference. And reviewing that quoting process. So we will, and by the way, we'll actually circulate after the session. We'll actually circulate all the contact details for everybody so you can reach out to people. And then finally, make sure that you have a value management tool or process whereby you can actually triple that prospect pool, because that's going to be massively powerful for you. So look, that's basically it. We'll flip over to some questions now. I can see that there are some queries in the chat box, so I'll just go through these. I've been talking, so I've missed some of these. So Lindsay said, "Oh, this happened this week where the client couldn't afford it, I imagine." Yeah. So look, let me see here. So Ben, we provide fee proposals for detailed estimates and tenders. Yeah. So look, this is the thing. You should charge for detailed estimates, and in fact, you can even charge for that first time that you meet the client, as long as you give them a report. You've got to give them something of value. As long as and if you ever get a client say to you, "Oh, such and such isn't charging for this report," well, that's because such and such isn't giving them a report. Okay. Or if they arc up about paying for a detailed estimate, then the natural question to ask is, well, how reliable will their estimate be? Because they'll have smashed it out as quickly as possible. Whereas if you're funding it, we actually take the time to get it right. Okay, so Ben, you're spot on. Yeah, Chris, I probably just answered that question, Chris Kilkelly, about the process for charging for feasibility. The key thing there is really the setup in the education. So we actually provide our ProCalc. We provide our builders with a brochure that explains why it's important to do feasibility and why it takes a builder so long to generate the numbers, because it's something that clients never know. They don't realise that it's such a pain in the butt for builders to go ahead and quote a job. Adrian, standard pre-qual checklist that can be applied manually. Yeah, we've actually got an article on our website, Adrian, that actually covers exactly that. So if you go to our website and then you look at the blogs there, you can download that from there. But I will, when I've got a moment, I will actually send that out to everybody. I'll attach it in an email. Oh, Owen, you've already answered that, so that's great. Thank you. Right. And Felix, yep, so that's all good. Yeah, sweet. All right, that's fantastic. That's awesome, guys. And look, Owen, were there any other questions? And I think there were a couple of other questions here, Owen, for you, just in regards to the professional builders rate. It looks as though you've answered then, have you?
Yeah, I think we've covered the professional builders rate. I mean, you're talking about preliminary agreement and all that sort of stuff. It's a really strong strategy that we work with our members on as well. So you can not be quoting those stats that you shared. Blew me away. I mean, like I know it anecdotally, but to see it with some cold hard facts is quite sobering. So we work with our members on a charging for quotes in a world where everyone gives free quotes method. So happy to share all those resources as well.
No, that's awesome, mate. And look, by the way, that graph that I put up there, that is actually based on hundreds of interviews with builders. It's real. That's what's happening in the Australian marketplace right now. And look, it probably wouldn't be that different to what's happening in New Zealand or America or wherever it may be. It's just sort of the nature of it. So yeah. So look, guys, I think that's pretty much covering the territory there. It looks as though we've pretty much exhausted all the questions there. So that's great. So a shout out to all of the presenters. We've got Emily there from Arrow, and Owen from TPB, and Hannah from Asset Builder. Thank you for your expertise, guys, and to all the builders who are on the call. Thanks for investing in yourself, because I really do believe that the 1 hour that you've sacrificed now, I genuinely believe it will save you at least 5 weeks of the year easily, probably more, probably a lot more. So well done in attending it and making the time to come along. So thank you, and awesome. Have a good day, guys. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for having us, Richard. Appreciate you, mate. Thanks,
Good
everybody.
on you. Great to have you on, guys.